horrific scene. It kind of reminds me of the Democrat convention during the Vietnam War when people were out protesting. Chicago, I guess, has a history of that kind of thing. But, you know, look, Donald Trump has used tactics that have raised an army of very ardent fans, for sure. But he's also locked in a lot of people that just don't like him. And I'm not saying the people protesting there in Chicago are Republican voters by any means, but there is a growing coalition of anti-establishment, Tea Party, Ted Cruz type people and establishment folks that are rallying behind the candidacy of Ted Cruz to unify our party before the national convention so that we can have a positive message. We don't need Donald Trump to be the head of the ticket, you know, for this great country of ours to be represented by a man with such a giant ego and with so few solutions to the problems would be tragic. And it's not in the nature of a Reagan or a Jack Kemp or, you know, a George Bush Sr. or George W. Bush to have someone who's got this kind of behavioral challenge. So I think it's tragic. I think he brought it on, you know, because of his tactics that he's used to show that he's the tough guy that's going to be able to, you know, to keep us safe from these threats. We are still the greatest country on the face of the earth, and he's not the right guy to lead us forward,
as we're looking at these pictures, you're seeing inside the stadium on one side of your screen, outside the Trump rally. As you can see, hundreds, if not thousands, gathered there. David Gergen, what can Donald Trump do now to stop this? Can he step up and be statesmanlike and stop this? What does he do tonight? So they put out this statement. They said there were security concerns. They've canceled this last minute. They said go in peace. What does he do now? You've advised presidents. What would you tell him to do right now?
He has to go to the country. He has to sit down in a calm way, in a calm place, and through television, and talk to the country about what he expects going forward, what he wants. He's going to have to issue a clear call, which he has not done so far, about having peaceful rallies. And he only wants people to come in peace as well as to leave in peace. And he has to be very strong, or he will bear moral responsibility for violence that may occur in the future. And we're heading in that direction. Unless if he keeps holding rallies like this and doesn't change the tone, we're going to have really, really tough situation above.
Jim Acosta, I want to go back to you now. It looks like we're seeing some people try to clear out. What else are you seeing? And a lot more police coming in.
That's right, Aaron. And just a few moments ago, they announced over the public address system here that it's time to go, that the rally has been canceled, and it's time to go home. As you can see now, there are dozens more Chicago police officers flooding the zone here. They're coming in here to remove these protesters. A lot of the Trump supporters, I will tell you right now, are starting to file out of this arena. It's a lot more empty in here than it was, you know, even 5 minutes ago. So this may be wrapping up. Chicago police appear to be getting control of the situation, but obviously for a good, my goodness, 20 or 30 minutes, Aaron, it was just absolute bedlam in here.
It's been
there was not enough security and law enforcement in here to get a handle on this.
At least 20 or now almost 25 minutes. Can I ask you a question, Jim? And I don't know if you know the answer, but you know we're trying to figure this out live as we go. Do you know whether the people who were waiting since 3 a.m. as they came into that stadium, what level of screening they went through? Were they screened? Were they going through metal detectors? Do you know?
Yeah. Yes, everybody was screened in terms of weapons, and those sorts of standards. Procedures were carried out at these rallies. After all, the Secret Service is here. They provide security for these events. But at the same time, what wasn't prevented here, and maybe it shouldn't be prevented, is that you had people who are obviously going to disrupt this rally show up in the terms of hundreds, if not thousands of people. And that's exactly what happened here tonight. You know, these protesters essentially stopped Donald Trump from holding a rally here in downtown Chicago. And like we were saying earlier, we just haven't seen anything like this during the course of this campaign. So, yes, a scuffle here, a protest there, but not like this.
But not like this. And I mean, David Gergen, is this part of the democratic process? I mean, someone should be able to have their rallies. To do that, right? So them stopping this is not a victory for the American process. It's an ugly thing.
It was terribly ugly, and I just think we're on a dangerous precipice. And the polarization we've seen in the country for so long has now brought people increasingly to a point where they begin to hate each other, and they demonize each other, and that's the unraveling of society when you get into that situation.
Democracy depends on an assumption of goodwill among fellow citizens, and that has been eroded. And the cancer cancer of bipartisanship is metastasizing in front of our eyes at rallies like this. And maybe Donald Trump can try to be presidential and walk it back. But as your viewers just saw earlier tonight, you know, he has a history of statements of incitement. And that's why successful presidential candidates historically have sent a message like Neil Bush's brother, be a uniter, not a divider. When you flip that equation, ugly things happen.
So David Gergen, what does he do, though? I mean, because he can't continue, regardless of whether you like him or loathe him. That's not the point. You can't continue if you're going to have rallies where half the people that show up are going to be protesters or trying to knock you off the stage. So what do you do to have him be able to go ahead with the political process and hold his rallies? You ticket people, is that enough? How do you know who's
to address this problem immediately, like tomorrow, in a very public way. There's going to be a lot of fallout from this. We're not sure where it's going to go, but you're going to see people also divide up as they go to the polls next week. Some people are going to look at this and say, "Oh my God, we can't elect this person." Listen to a Neil Bush and the kind of argument he makes. There are other people who are going to say it's ridiculous that they're going to be able to shut down our candidate. We're going to go out in bigger droves, and it's only going to increase the polarization. He says he wants to be a unifier. This is a test of his leadership to show that he can unify.
And Neil, if you're still with me, would that be something that would sway someone like you? Because you wrote in your op-ed when you talked about why you have decided to back Ted Cruz that he was not your first choice, he was not even your second choice. I'm not saying, okay, you're going to abandon Ted Cruz. I'm simply making the point that could Donald Trump win someone like you over if he were to step up and take a very leadership, statesman-like stance on this?
No. No, definitely not. You know what he's going to do tomorrow, if he does it at all, and I hope he does address the issue? He's going to say, I'm a unifier. I'm the only guy that can bring the country together. I'm the best. He makes these broad generalizations like he's running for 8th grade class president, and he doesn't really say anything of substance. He's not a serious candidate, sadly, and I'm sorry to say that. And he's confiscated the Republican process. There's still time, though. There have been only 42% of the delegates allotted so far. Ted Cruz has received 29% of the popular vote compared to his 34%. And so who's bringing out these millions of voters? Anyway, so we definitely need to unify our party, and he's clearly not a unifier, no matter what he says.
All right. Well, Neil, thank you. I want to go to Jake Carpenter. He is a photojournalist. He is outside this rally where now you're seeing thousands of people come from inside that arena outside. What is the tone like, the mood like? Are people calm now? Have you seen fights, Jake? What are you seeing?
Yeah, we're not seeing any fights or anything like that. The tone, I mean, it's a protest out here. Everybody's, pretty spirited, pretty peaceful, though. We haven't seen any issues at all. The crowd is quite significant. I can't see any size change over the last 3-4 hours that we've been out here. It's been consistent, if not growing. I mean, there are people, I don't know if you're looking at my shot right now, but as far down the street here, looking up on Harrison here, there's just people as far as the eye can see. And that's the way it's been for hours. I haven't seen it let up at all.
And Jake, what's the mix that you're seeing? We did just see what you were seeing through your camera just a moment ago. Now we're looking at an aerial shot, but we did. What's the mix in terms of protesters versus supporters that you've seen and that you're seeing now? Are you able to give us a general sense?
So from my position, I'm about 30 feet from the front line right now because our signal was dropping out way up there. But I'm not seeing any supporters for Trump out here. These are all Bernie supporters and just supporters of people for anyone against Trump. They're just, I can't move the camera here. They're just supporting, free speech, anti-hate, fuel the burn. I mean, these are the messages. They're chanting in both English and Spanish. Lots of different nationalities of flags out here. It's a very diverse group, but totally peaceful from what I've seen, and the crowds have not gone down at all over the last 4 hours. If anything, it's gone up.
And totally peaceful, but just to be clear, it sounds like you're really in an area where it's all protesters, so you're amongst people who are on the same side.
Correct, yeah. When I got out here about 3 o'clock, you could see on, I don't know if my shot's up right now on the right side of the screen. So on one side of the street, they had the barricades for protesters. I know at some of these events, they like to have a specific area for the protesters. This is way beyond that. This is the entire street and the sidewalk. When we were in there, it was shoulder to shoulder for multiple blocks. I mean, you were just had to maneuver your way through. So all we're seeing are supporters, protesters, excuse me, and we're not seeing anybody pro-Trump out here, at least not out on this side.
All right, well.
But, yeah.
Yeah, Jake, no, thank you very much. And just so everyone know, this went on for, Donald Trump was half an hour late, and then the surprise cancellation of this rally, and then about 20 minutes where we saw scuffles, punching, fighting inside, some pretty, very scary moments, not enough law enforcement to fully deal with it, but now it looks like it's starting to dissipate. People are starting to leave calmer. We will see what happens and transpires over the next few minutes, and as this night continues, a major night. Let's go now to Anderson Cooper.
All right, good evening. The picture